Welcome to the most must-see NWR7 talk show in history. Welcome to a Thanksgiving edition of The Rundown. I'm Cody Dzis. Follow the Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at the same handle, at NWR7_ The Rundown. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, please. I want more subscribers, and I want this channel to be bigger. Let's get this to 200 subscribers by the end of this week. I think you guys could do it. I think we all can. Again, career enhancing, career enlightening. Comment question of the day is, what is your favorite NWR7 sport? That includes GN football, just so you guys know, because GN is Gilbert Northwestern. So please include that. Please put it in the comments section. I would love to hear what you guys say, and I might just end up responding. Now, today, let's get down to business. This is a full GN episode because, obviously, Thanksgiving, it's got to have football. We're going to talk all about football. We're going to talk about GN's last two games to end the season and the final stretch that they had. And we're going to talk about their head coach, Scott Salius. Is he on the hot seat or not? There's been a lot of speculation recently. We'll talk about that later. And we'll also follow that up with the Q&A. As always, we always do a Q&A, even on Thanksgiving. So, let's get down to business with GN's last two games to end their illustrious season. So the last two games for GN, I'm just going to run through them quick. 49-14 loss against Valley Regional. Passing-wise, Anthony Carfero was 7 of 18 for 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, and sadly 4 interceptions. That's going to go bad on his record. We'll get back to that later. Rushing-wise, Marco Foligno, the lead rusher for the entire year for GN, had 5 carries only for 17 yards. He was hurt a little bit through the game. So Clayton Maloney actually came in to clean up. I figured it would be Hunter Sandin or someone, but they brought in Clayton Maloney. He had 14 carries, 51 yards, and 2 fumbles, which is upsetting, but it's oh well. Receiving-wise, Chase Sandin, only 2 receptions. Out of anyone on this team, he only had 2 receptions. He's the number 1 target for Carfero, and he only had 2 receptions. 89 receiving yards and a touchdown, so pretty good day for him for the most part. Cam Mulligan had 1 reception, 6 yards, and a touchdown. Ian Thompson had only 2 receptions for 20 yards. Not bad. We'll get to him later. Defensively, Chase and Ian both combined for 10 total tackles, 5 each for them, which is pretty impressive. They both led the team. Now, this is very interesting. I want to note this here. Anthony Carfero had a 5-to-8 touchdown interception ratio after the loss against Valley. We don't have the stats against Waterbury Career except for the score, so I won't be able to provide all of that. But we're just going to keep going here. Hunter Sandin is tied for second in tackles. Keep watch on him next year when he's a senior. He has 70 tackles before heading into Waterbury Career. The first person was Jordan Rivera with 76, so he was only 6 behind. I'm not sure if he broke it or not. We'll get word from him in a week or two. Clayton Maloney was tied for 5th in interceptions this season. He had 3. Everyone else above him has 4, but he was tied with one other person for 5th to be able to have 3 interceptions. That's pretty great for Clayton Maloney on defense. I'm proud of this kid. Now, against Waterbury Career, 38-14 loss. Not good. Not good. They have not been playing well. Here are some bad stats, and this is why GN hasn't been playing as well. I'm just going to run through these because it's 4 things, and then one that's actually pretty surprising. They are last in total points, last in rushing yards. They have less than 100 rushing yards on the entire season heading in the Waterbury Career game. The first place is Granby with over 2,000. Just think about that. We have less than 1,000. Granby has over 2,000. Maybe different school talent, I don't know, but we'll just keep going. Last in touchdowns, they have 20 plus now. First place is SMSA with 40 plus touchdowns. They are beating them by double their touchdown amount, which is ridiculous. And then they are last in sacks. They only had 5 sacks on the year after the game against Valley Regional. First place, Rockville, 30-plus sacks. There is a huge difference in numbers there, which is very big. And here's another fact. The last time GN football put up over 14 points was week 4. In the last 6 weeks, they have not been able to put up 14-plus points in their games. They've hit 14, but they haven't been able to get above 14 points in the last 6 weeks that they've played football. That's just shocking. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, there's a lot to improve now. There is one good stat, though. I will give them this. They are first place in tackles, which means they get the most amount of tackles in the league. They have over 500 tackles, which is pretty good. And I'm pretty proud of these guys for how they play defensively. They don't really try to allow much. It just happens. But I do want to give some advice. First off, I want to give advice to Anthony Carfero, the quarterback. This year was not his year. I mean, he was a rookie coming into this situation. What I suggest for him is during the offseason, work up his team chemistry with all, not just some, all of his returning receivers. Obviously, him and Chase Sandon, who will be gone next year, remember that. They had the best connection because they've always had a personal connection. They've always been pretty good friends as far as I know. So Carfero having a great connection in Chase Sandon is huge, but he didn't have that great of a connection with the rest of his receivers, and that's a problem. So, Carfero, I just want you to keep working on that, and also work on turning the ball over less. I know that's going to be hard, but you need to learn to read defenses better because clearly throwing 4 interceptions in a game where you can't throw 4 interceptions, where it's really important you don't throw 4 interceptions, you still do it anyway, that's big. You got to work on the turnovers because that's one of the biggest reasons GN has been losing all these games because they spend more time on defense than they even do offense, and that's really bad. So, Carfero, just a little bit of advice there for you. Defensively wise, this is pretty huge. Get pressure into the pocket next year. Work on pass rush and run defense because this is very important. If you cannot get into the pocket for a solid pass rush, that is not going to be good because that means the defense is always going to be on their heels, and it also means they won't play to their full ability, and that's a huge thing. So I just want to let you guys know to get into the pocket because clearly that was not what you guys had worked on in the offseason or preseason. But biggest thing, stop the run game. The run game was killer against you guys this year. It was the front 7. I'm not going to say any names on who that front 7 is. But for all of you guys that do play the front 7, not targeting, not saying anything bad. I'm just saying in order to become better, you guys next year need to work on stopping the run game because that's what's been killing you guys most. And that is huge because if they have a successful run game on you guys, that means if you guys try and adjust to the run game defense, the pass game is wide open, and next thing you know, you're down 30 in the second quarter. That's how I see it. But no, that's just all the advice that I have for GN, and that's everything that I was able to talk about for the last 2 games. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the biggest drama of everything that's been going on. Head coach Scott Salius, is he on the hot seat? We're going to cover that next on the Rundown. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Rundown. I'm Cody Dzis. Follow the Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at the same handle at NWR7_ The Rundown. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment question of the day. Remember, what is your favorite NWR7 sport? Please comment that, and I might just end up responding. Now, we talked about GN's stats over the last 2 games, but we haven't talked about the head coach, which is the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today. Is head coach Scott Salius on the hot seat? This is a very interesting topic, and I've gotten a lot of talk about this recently with people. So, let's just go right through it. His record is very impressive. He's got a total record of 74-52. 74 wins, 52 losses, pretty good. He's coached 12 seasons for GN. I did not know that heading into this season, but that is very impressive that he's been here for so long, and he's had some success. He's had some down seasons. In the last 3 seasons, it's actually been very important to cover. But we're just going to go right in. Best year was 2016. He was 8-2. He had a 1,000-yard rusher in Billy Comans. He had 41 team rushing touchdowns to account for. He had the number 1 player in sacks, which was Liam Duran with 9. And then he had the number 1 player in interceptions, which was E.J. Clayman, who had 6. So pretty impressive numbers there. 2009 to 2013 was his best stretch. He was 39-15, which is his best stretch as a head coach, and very impressive, and I congratulate him on that. I don't think it was just talent. I think it was also the coaching system. Nowadays, kind of struggling a bit. Last 3 seasons, 12-17 as a current record, and that's his worst stretch as a head coach, which is very important to think about because over the seasons, you think the same coach system's got to work, right? That's very incorrect because defenses have adjusted to his play style and have probably adjusted to the offensive coordinator and everything that GN runs. So that's very, very huge to think about. But total record is 74-52. I commend him on that. He's over 500 by a good amount of games. I don't think that'll change anytime soon. But this is very important. Team needs, and this is if whether he stays or goes, I honestly think the team will need these 6 positions. I'm going to go through them by order. Offensive tackle is 1 and offensive guard is 2. Build up that line because last year it was not too big. This past season also weren't that big of kids on the line, wasn't that successful, and that was a big reason why we only won 3 games because we weren't able to do anything on offense, not just because of the line, but because we ran kids into the ground, and I think that was a big mistake. But nonetheless, I'm not the coach, so I can't really say much. I can't really do much about it. I'm just saying I think offensive tackle and guard need an upgrade, which is why I want people from last season to recruit people for this upcoming season to play GN football. I'd really appreciate that. Next 2 positions, outside and middle linebacker, I want run stoppers for this team because clearly the run was a big loss, and that's like the most important thing for this defense. I think if they stop the run next year, that they will have a lot better of a record and a lot better of a season. I think they'll pick up double the wins that they had and subtract their losses, and that's huge as it is. So middle linebacker and outside linebacker, let's get a run defense back to GN football. 5th spot, which is actually very interesting, and you guys will judge me for it, and I know some people will disagree. I think they need a quarterback. No disrespect to Anthony Carfero. I would never disrespect. But in order to become great for GN, I think they need a field general, which is someone that can scan the field well, knows when to throw at the right time, knows how to commit less turnovers than the next, and honestly will be able to do as much as possible in order for this team to win. Now, Carfero has been pretty decent. He's a scrambler quarterback, and I know that because I know he's got some speed to him, and I know he likes to run the ball occasionally, do that read option. But I think in order for GN to be great at quarterback, I think they need to transition Carfero into a field general or turn another player into a field general because that's what's going to make this team so much more special, and I think that's what's going to fuel this offense. And the last position, which is actually pretty interesting, some of you may agree with me on this, some of you may not, wide receiver. Now, they can either go with a deep threat to match with Freddie Camp, who was also one of the deep threats. He was one of the better receivers on this team. Didn't get a single catch in the last game, though, sadly. I honestly think wide receiver is the way to go. They could either go with a deep threat to match with Freddie and replace Chase Sandon, or they could go with a slot receiver and actually get a lot of first downs, which would be huge because that's one of the things they struggled with because they couldn't get many passes done, and every time they tried, it would either be an incompletion or an interception. I mean, Carfero was not the best quarterback this year, but I'm not going to trash on him. I'm not going to disrespect him anymore. I don't think I was disrespecting him, if any of you guys take it as that. But I honestly think wide receiver would be a perfect fit for Carfero, whether it's a deep threat or a slot receiver. Most likely, I would rather prefer slot receiver because they have a deep threat and they have a guy who they could turn into a red zone threat in Ian Thompson, which I really hope they do because this kid's got a lot of talent. This kid's special as a tight end. But I truly think wide receiver is the way to go if they don't decide to build up the line. If the linebackers are all gone from this year's upcoming draft. Other than that, I think this team isn't in a terrible spot, but this is actually very important. All these coaching candidates that I had looked up, these are all guys that had coached for former teams in the Pequot League that are no longer coaching, and there is one current coach, but we're going to go through it. First coach, A.J. Taddeo, former Rockville coach. His record's 8-34. Marty Powers from Windsor Locks was 21-42, so he had double the losses, which is unfortunate. This one is actually interesting. Kevin Shizmizia, I think that's the way to say his last name. He was 2018 Canton coach, and he was 1-9. Now, Canton doesn't have a great football program as it is, but this guy only had one season to actually coach for Canton, so I say they give him a bigger opportunity, and let's see what he can do. Another former Canton coach, Paul Philippon, from 2011 to 2014, he coached. He was 24-19. That's pretty good. I say they give that guy a chance if they do decide to let go of Big Sal. Another coach that's also in the running that didn't really have that big of a shot, Zach Mahali from Nonawag, when they actually had a football team. They were 0-3 with him under the play calling. So I honestly think they could give him a bigger chance because GN will actually have a team and will play a whole season. Nonawag only played 3 games and they lost all 3 of them. That can't be Mahali's fault. Maybe it's just talent. John Oko, former Mills coach, he's 6-27-1. He did tie once, so I mean, can't really account for that. But 27 losses to 6 wins. I mean, you could always give this guy a chance. You saw him and Lewis Mills. Obviously, they didn't fit his coaching style. They didn't fit the play style that he wanted. So maybe if he were to come to GN, that could boost the offense or the defense. Again, we really don't know with these high school football coaches. You could either be a great coach or you could be a coach that's inconsistent. But you never know. And then the last guy, current Windsor Locks head coach, Jason Kua. If we were to offer him a bigger deal, I think it would be interesting because he's 16-23-1 for a coaching record, which isn't bad. He's actually brought Windsor Locks to a good season or two. So I think Kua would be a perfect fit because it'd be able to boost this team's confidence and be able to boost this team on the offense and the defense, which is something huge. And if there are any coaches that are looking most likely to get that job, I think GN's going to look into that. I think they're going to look into coaches that can really boost the offense and the defense, especially the run defense, which I've been talking about this whole episode. But I truly think Scott Salius isn't on the hot seat yet, but I think one more season and he may be let go, but we never know. Now, that's all about the head coaching drama that we've heard over the last couple of weeks. Now, that's over. Coming up next, we have the Q&A, and obviously, yeah, you hear me, I'm stumbling my words a little bit, but we have the Q&A. We have 4 important questions that we have to answer, and then it's to send you guys off to Thanksgiving meals. Coming up next on the Rundown is the Q&A. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Rundown. I'm Cody Dzis. Follow the Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at the same handle at NWR7_the Rundown. We have the sign back, and I forgot to mention that. Let's go! All right, so Q&A time. We talked about all of GN. There's no more GN that we're talking about this episode, so you guys obviously won't be yawning in your chairs or anything when you're watching this, or yawning while eating turkey because that's already going to make you sleepy. So, Q&A. We have 4 very interesting questions I liked this week that I wanted to answer. And also I want to give a quick shout out. There was this kid that I had walked into school and I saw, and it was funny because I want to tell you guys the whole story. So I had went to Dunkin' Donuts that morning and I had ordered a large mocha cocoa iced latte. That's the best move ever. It's a power move. And then I ordered a sausage, egg, and cheese on an English muffin. And I know you guys shouldn't be hearing about this, but I just wanted to give it because it was a pretty cool fan moment for me. What ended up happening was I waited 10 minutes for the sandwich, and they never had it ready. And then when they did ask me about it, I told them, and they gave me a free donut along with that. So, very interesting. So what ended up happening is I show up to school, and as I'm closing my locker, a fan came up to me and asked me if they could have the donut. So I just said yeah, because I didn't want it. I wasn't really that hungry. I got a sandwich for myself. I had everything I needed. So the fan came up to me. His name's Sterling Martin. He's a very good guy. Sterling, you are welcome for that donut. And he actually said thanks for the donut on a Q&A question. It was kind of funny. I was going to say that for one of them, but I figured I'd just shout that out now. Now, let's get down to business. I'm sorry. Number 1, how do you think wrestling will be after the departure of Angelo Foligno? Now, you know Marco Foligno for GN Football? That's his older brother, Angelo Foligno, which is a very big loss. Angelo was one of the better wrestlers in the state, in my opinion. And losing him on this team is very big. But I honestly think wrestling will be fine. I just think they won't win as many matches as they intend to. Because losing a guy like Angelo is very huge. I mean, they do have Marco. They have Aiden Bannerman, who's most likely going to be the captain this year because he's a senior. I truly think this is going to be an interesting year for wrestling. Now, I'm going to miss seeing Angelo wrestle. I've seen him wrestle, and he's very good. I have no doubt in my mind he's going to be one of the better ones that comes out of this school ever. So, seeing him leave is very huge. But I truly think that wrestling will be fine. I think we'll do pretty well this year. Number 2, most overrated Thanksgiving food. This is actually very interesting. I've never answered this question before, obviously because I've never gotten this question before. But there's a lot of factors to play into it, and it depends on how someone cooks it and everything. Now, my mom is a great cook, so not going to deny that. I honestly think, of all things, I'd probably say turkey. I don't know why, but I think out of all foods, I think turkey is the most overrated just because, obviously, yeah, it's the main course, but after a while, like, all that turkey, man, I mean, like you get a huge thing of it, and then it's like half of it you don't even end up finishing, and it's like, that's so much because Thanksgiving, you bring every food basically together, and it's like, wow, this is a 5-star meal. And it's like, out of everything, turkey's like the meaty part of it. And you're just like, all right, this is way too much. That's my personal opinion. I love turkey, but sometimes too much turkey is like a bad thing for me. So that's my most overrated Thanksgiving food. Number 3, will swim continue its run as the top in the league once again. This is very, very big. Swim, and I've actually angered a couple swim people over the last couple weeks because over a couple weeks ago when I was answering questions, I said baseball was the most successful, and that was not knowing all the information about swim. However, I will say right now that I apologize to the swim team if I upset you guys. If you guys think you're more successful, then obviously I can't disagree with that. It's your own opinion, and it was my own opinion that baseball was the most successful. So, honestly, I'm getting off track here. I think swim will be fine. I mean, they have lost a few great people over the last couple of years, but they gain people every year, and it's like, where do these kids come from? I mean, this is the most successful swim program in the entire Berkshire League. I think they'll keep this up. I think they have an incredible team. I think they're just going to be as successful as possible. I think they're going to win the BL again. So, yeah, that's my honest opinion. So, yeah, that's done. Number 4, and this is the final question, what big change would you make to regional sports? This is very difficult for me to actually talk about because, you know, I try supporting every NWR7 sport, and I try and give advice to as many people as I can during the season, and it's like, I don't want to disrespect, and I also don't want to be the downer of people, but if there's one thing that I had to change to regional sports, which is very interesting, well, there's actually a good amount of things. There's a couple things that I would change. First thing is get the baseball team a new field because they've been asking for a new field over the last few years, and we know how terrible the play in that mud pit is. I've talked to so many baseball players over the couple years about it, and they've all said the same thing. The field is terrible. We need a new field. Please get our athletic director to invest in that because you'd be the only one. And, you know, I honestly think that's true. I think they do deserve a better field because their field is not nice. Their field is in a pit, so it's not as easy to see from wherever the fans have to sit. And it's also just not in the best condition. Now, obviously, winter will account for that, but also it's just the field just isn't great, so that's one thing. And then another huge thing, in my opinion, is fan base. Now, if I'm being honest, we have a decent amount of fans, but we need more. And I'm asking all of Northwestern's fans, every student that goes, to please go to every sporting event for the winter, for the spring. Do as much as you can, and if you play a sport, then that's an excuse because you will be there. But if you don't play a sport in any of the seasons, go to as many games as you possibly can without being thrown out of the games, because I know some people will be like that. But this is very big, and I want everyone to actually go and look at me in the eye. I take this seriously. I want you guys to all show up. And if you don't, I'm going to be very mad, and our teams are going to struggle because our fans won't be there enough. We won't have as many fans, so we won't be able to get the wins. Now, during the fall season, our volleyball team had one of the biggest fan bases I've ever seen. Let's continue that into the winter for basketball and even wrestling if we can. Swim if there's even a chance. Because I know they all have to work around each other's schedule and everything. But I honestly think this is one of the bigger things for Northwestern is the fan base. And I think that's the most important thing out of everything. And that will actually do it for this video. So thank you guys all for watching. If you are watching, I know today's Thanksgiving, so you guys will have more important things to do with your families. And I appreciate all of that. Now, follow the Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, as I said earlier, at NWR7_ The Rundown. Look at the sign. It's impressive. I just love it. This is obviously a different studio that I'm working in, so I'm going to have to move into Studio A or B again soon. I'll touch base with you guys on that. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this video to 100 likes, and let's get the channel to 200 subscribers. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know today at Thanksgiving to follow the rundown. And I want to say right now that I'm most thankful for my family, my friends, but especially to everyone that follows the rundown and supports what I'm doing, because if I'm being honest, this is what I want to do as a career. I want to be a broadcaster, so this will be a very huge thing for me. If you guys can help me out with that, help me get all the support that I possibly can get, and I can certainly say that you guys have definitely done that. You guys have told your friends, your family. I want you guys to keep doing that. And I want you guys to keep making this channel as great as it possibly can be. The Instagram, the Snapchat, the Twitter, the YouTube especially, because the YouTube is where the episodes take place. And that's one of the bigger things. So if I'm being honest, I am very thankful for the most part for all of you guys. You guys are the best fans in the world, and I hope you guys keep following. I hope you guys don't get tired of this, and I love you guys for the most part. Happy Thanksgiving to every family out there that follows the rundown, every family out there in the entire world. I'm Cody Dzis. This is the Thanksgiving special, and we are officially done with the rundown. Peace.